This is The Bench, your unfiltered sports podcast with stories from the sidelines only you can get here. Oftentimes, once you walk across that stage, graduating high school, you forget about the realm of high school football. Well, it's ever-changing, and today on The Bench, we have founder of BamaPreps, Vlad Valasiuk. Have you ever been tackled by accident on the sideline? I was really curious about this.
When I come back on, I'll tell you the story.
Before we hop into the episode, guys, I have to admit that I have a problem, and it has to do with most energy drinks. They're all one-dimensional. They're either all brain or all brawn. Well, I found an answer to my problem, and our presenting partner, HYBRYD, is both. You get the physical power to push hard in the gym and the mental clarity to stay calm, focused, and sharp the rest of the day. It's one drink powder that carries you from workouts to workdays without burning you out. So I guess for people who don't know, so your brand is BamaPreps, and you have built this from the ground up, covering high school football?
Yes.
How has that been for you?
It's been fun. So I did Warrior Nation football. It's where I started. It's Thompson. I went to Thompson, graduated, and I ran their football account while I was playing for really all 4 years I was doing it. And I had some help. A good friend of mine, Tristan, did video. He'd be up in the bleachers doing the video, and while I'd be playing the game, and then we'd run into the locker room at halftime, and I would get the score out, do my crappy,
Are you serious?
Do my crappy little graphic, get the score out. Hopefully, Coach Freeman didn't see it.
You're playing.
Yeah.
So you're playing football.
Yes.
You have your partner, whatever. But halftime in your uniform, you're making graphics and sending out media. Are you serious?
If the CCTV existed, I would show it to you. Yeah, it's hilarious. So I mean, it was just.
What did your coach have to say about this?
Fun to do.
Did he know? You're like over there on your phone.
No, they didn't know until I think right before my senior year, like middle of my junior year. And Coach Gaines, who was our linebackers coach at the time, he's now the head coach at Moody, doing a really great job there. But he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, Coach Pitts wants to see you. Who's our athletic director?" I went, "Shit, it's over. It's over for me. They're going to tell me to shut it down or give the account over or whatever it may be." And he was really cool about it. He was like, "Yeah, no, you can do this. Just make sure that you're not putting anything out that doesn't need to be out. You know, the obvious, that kind of stuff." And don't be a Barstool account.
Yeah.
You know, just be a football account, be a professional football account, and you know, do what you've been doing, because he really liked it. I really liked doing it. It was fun. You know, just using graphic design and using media. You know, that's not something we really had on the Instagram side. You know, I think Twitter is the main space for recruitment, and that's where the players really need to be pushed the most. And you may see it when you're on Twitter, their Instagram or their usernames will be their first name, their last name, their year, and then on Instagram it'll be whatever the heck sounds cool, right? So there's a difference between Twitter and Instagram with just the professionalism. That's where your recruiters are, and we really didn't have anything on the Instagram side for Thompson football.
Gotcha. So your market, this was that niche that you found?
Yeah.
Did you always realize that, or was there a day somebody said something and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is a whole market I could tap into"?
No, I don't think it was a single moment. I just think, you know, as I was growing up, I would see stuff on Instagram be put out, and you know, it was a lot different to what you'd see on Facebook or in a newspaper. You know, it was just there's a lot more graphic involved into it. You know, I think Instagram at its core is about photos. You know, that's how it was founded. You know, it was the little icon, it's a little photo camera, right? So it has to be photos. It has to look good, has to look crisp. You know, my worst enemy is a low-quality photo. It really is, because I can make everything else look fine, but can't do the photo. But yeah, no, middle of my senior year, I made a little account called BamaPreps. And I didn't know.
Did the name come from anywhere? Or was it like, this is just sick, let's
No,
do it?
so I was actually, I thought a lot about it. You know, it was like, I saw PrepsNet, which was a thing that already existed, MaxPreps.
Okay.
Just do Bama.
Yeah.
You know, and I think if I ever branch out anywhere else, it'd be a lot harder, because I don't think there's a 4-letter abbreviation just waiting for me in every state.
Because it sounds good.
Right. It needs to sound
rings.
clean. It needs to be one word. I'm very particular about that. You can't have any underscores in your username. You know, nothing really mullying up what it is, because that's people's first impression. That's what they're going to see. And you need to make sure that they see the flat page, they see the logo, then they see the follow button. Like, oh, okay, yeah, why not?
Yeah, there we go.
Why not? So, and it was really a similar thing for Warrior Nation football, which is Thompson.
Which they have a great program there.
Yep.
But what about, I mean, the whole thing? Like, this is a whole social media entity. There's so much that goes into it. You guys, do y'all still do video?
Yep.
Or did you, so, okay, we've got videos, photos, we've got, like, live stats, graphics.
Yes.
What about this, though, do you love?
It's really all of that, just being able to, it's really a niche, like we mentioned earlier. You have to be able to put everything together, like what you said, the stats, the graphics, the video and everything, and treat it sort of like a Bleacher Report for high school football. But not just Bleacher Report, you also need to pull some of the player promotion out from what you see on Twitter. Our mission statement is to promote the coaches, the teams, and the players. That's the biggest thing. I could care less about anything else, honestly. We're not at a stage of trying to make money right now, so we don't have to, slap an advertisement on anything. It can just be strictly the players, the coaches, and the teams. And that's really what I love about it, just giving promotion. I was no belle of the ball when I played high school football. I'll be the first one to say that. I think I got like a interest letter from like a D3 to tell me to go to one of their camps, and I'm pretty sure the only reason I got that was just because I was on the roster. So it's that, and and then I see some of my teammates and just the opportunities that they didn't get, and with how tough it is right now for high school kids to get recruited with the changes in the transfer portal, it's really something of interest because now with the transfer portal you don't have to go try and recruit 20 high school kids or however many you need to fill out your class. You can get half or more of that in the transfer portal now.
Serious? So what are these high schoolers facing? That's because this is evolving. I mean, all of this is fairly new. What are these obstacles, and with social media, to mention, what are they facing that maybe somebody like me wouldn't know?
Yeah. So when it comes to high school recruitment, it's always tough. If you're really trying, if you don't have the tape yet, if you don't have the on-field experience, and you're trying to get recruited, and it's your senior year, and it's coming down to it, and you're not where you need to be. It's really tough, and that's where the portal comes into things. Like, why would you go recruit and develop a high schooler who's not even guaranteed to stay at your school for the whole time because of the transfer portal when you could just go get somebody? And you could get somebody with experience, somebody who's played. I think that's an appealing option to a lot of coaches, and I think that came around sophomore or junior year for me when I was in high school, and you could sort of see the writing on the wall. I think every high school needs to have a coach that's a recruiting coordinator, somebody who can be the middleman between the college coaches and the players. That's definitely something that could help, but just cleaning up your Twitter profile. There's great guidelines out there of, have your 40 time, have your ACT score, have your GPA, have your height and weight, just something to where these recruiters, when they look at your profile, when you send out DMs, I know some high schools who have sent hundreds of DMs to hundreds of coaches. It's the same copy and paste thing, but they've worked that down to a science to where this is my tape, this is what I'm about, this is who I am, this is the opportunity I need. And if you have a clean Twitter profile, if you can get that cleaned up, and any little thing will help for a college recruiter to see you, notice you, and it sucks to be talking about it this way, but it's just a reality of the fact.
It's crazy because this is like, you would think you play good ball and you'd get these offers rolling in, but it's still like, would you say it's this networking, who getting your face out there?
Sure. Yeah, you need to know how to play the game of social media. Absolutely. And that, for NIL now, that's an even bigger part. Like, we don't have NIL in high school yet in the state of Alabama. Georgia does. I believe California does. I believe Texas does. Like, there's these states that have already legalized NIL, but college athletics, it's open season right now.
So can you go into NIL a little bit more? Like, where is this going in the high school realm, and how is it affecting the athletes?
I think it's a matter of time before we see NIL in high school football in Alabama.
Thing?
That's the question, isn't it? That's the $1 million question.
Is this a good thing?
It's interesting because on one part of it, it's a chance for, some would say, generational wealth for 17-year-olds, for 16-year-olds who are, just getting their status up. And we see what it is in college now. These freshmen are getting paid millions of dollars to come to schools.
Oh my gosh,
and then you take that and you just take it a level lower. The money won't be, $5 million, $10 million, whatever it is for the top recruits. It'll be maybe even $1 million. Trent Seaborn, quarterback for Thompson High School, got offered $1 million by a trading card company to move states to a state for NIL, and they'd pay him. $750,000 to Cameron Pritchett, who was a defensive lineman for Thompson High School. Got offered to move states because he got an offer with a company. This is already happening. Alabama right now is just behind. And where the question lies is, how long are you going to sit and research this? How many players are you going to lose doing that?
Okay.
Caleb Holt, Buckhorn High School, was the top player in the state of Alabama a few years ago, transferred to Georgia for NIL money. And I don't want to pass judgment on this is generational money, and they're still high schoolers at the end of the day. So I mean no judgment by this, but it's just the matter of the fact of what happened, and where are we going in our state with that? Honestly, I don't know. I still don't know. I think that it's the generational money, but there's also another aspect of it, which is the shadiness of it.
What does that entail?
You can't deny the fact that you can't deny a kid at a 3A or a 2A school, a lower classification school, and if he's really good and he's getting highly recruited, and if NIL is legal in this state, what's stopping him from moving up to a 7A, moving up to a 6A where a brand deal is available? Because from my understanding, the litigation, the way that it's been framed is the high schools, you cannot have your high school iconography on any sort of NIL branding. It can't affect your decision, but I see that as an inevitability. Because if you're a big money donor for a high school and you're supplying the school with money and you want to make your team better, well, now you have another avenue other than donating to the athletic fund or donating to the booster club. And you can get a kid an ad deal, say at a car dealership, and he moves over there, and it has nothing to do with the high school, no affiliation with the high school. It's not somebody who's in the high school, and he moves to that city, and he just happens to play there now. So there's two sides to the coin, both honestly valid, and I think that's just what we've gotten as a whole when it comes to college football, and what we've seen in other states' high schools. Is to where you're just going to have a mixed bag of issues, and you're just going to have to learn with it on the fly. The AHSA, the topic of NIL has been brought up multiple times. It was brought up in their kickoff classic meeting, which I attended, where Heath Harmon said that they're studying this issue and they have committees for this issue. But at what point does that turn into action? How many players are we going to lose before something is finally done about NIL? Because this is a great state, and we have great players. You look at basketball, what we had with, like I mentioned, Caleb Holt, what we've had with some of these star players, J.D. Davidson, there's talent in Alabama. Football, especially.
Yes.
Football, especially.
Roll Tide, guys.
Roll Tide, that's right. And you have to secure the state, but you have to figure out how you want to do it.
I guess maybe it's not either which way, but do you think that with money being the forefront of football, in a sense now, across all platforms, does it spoil some sense of what football should be?
What do you think football should be?
So what exactly about hybrid is it? Well, hybrid just feels different because it is different, and the story behind it really is my most favorite part about this. Chris, the founder, is a 22-year-old solo entrepreneur here in the South, and he actually built this for himself at first because he was tired of brands hiding low doses behind proprietary blends or whatever that may mean. But with hybrid, everything's transparent. There's no gimmicks. You know exactly what you're drinking. Just flip it around and read the ingredients list. It speaks for itself.
What do you think football should be?
I guess that feeds into what you love about sports. I think that sports, for me, I never played football, so I don't get the feelings attached to it in that aspect of being on the field and playing in that way. I was a golfer, that we worked at the golf course together.
That's right, that's right.
But to me, especially because I'm not in that male realm, sports, it brings people together.
Yes.
Even though you say it divides, like Roll Tide, War Eagle, which is blasphemy.
But it's all love at the end of the day.
Exactly. We are all getting people under the same roof, in a sense, for the same cause and escaping the darkness of the world.
Sure.
That's why I fell in love with sports. So that's why the question leads me, is it spoiling what sports should be? But what is sports?
Sure.
I
think it's a great question. I'm going to Hamilton High School right after this. It's over by Mississippi, and it is a 4A program. I've been to Coosa Christian High School, which is a 2A program. I've been to what you would quantify as small ball. That is where the whole city, all 7,000 of them, come out. They pack out a football stadium on a Friday night, and they watch their kids who have lived in that city for all 16 years of their lives play football for their city's high school football team. And everybody in that city is from that city and nobody else. And then they go to war with another city. And that's what high school football has been for the 120 years, whatever it is, that it's existed in this state. You used to see all the way back in the 20s, you would have city teams not affiliated with the high schools.
Oh,
You
really?
have grown men, city teams play each other.
That's
And
awesome.
that's how football, and then you would see colleges play these city teams. There's a great resource if you're ever interested about the early days, basically. It's called the AHSFHS, the Alabama High School Football Historical Society.
Okay.
And they've done a great job chronicling all of the original football games. They go into the local libraries and pull up the newspaper records, and it's really grueling work, but they've managed to do it, and it's an awesome resource. And that leads me back to the small ball that we have now. It's really that same way. And then you go up to the higher classifications. There's a little bit more movement. And is that movement what sullies the game? Is that movement what sullies the love of the game? And if we're going to say that, then what the heck is college football right now?
Yep.
You know, where you have, just look at what Deion Sanders has done at Colorado. I think over half that team, 75% of that team is transfer portal based. Do those kids still love the university, or are they just there for a paycheck? You know what I
This
mean?
is $1 million question.
Right, and do you have that money to go around at the high school level? Because by the litigation that's been pushed forward for NIL in the state of Alabama and NIL in other states, the schools can't pay players like they can in college. You can't have Hoover High School, Thompson High School have like an NIL fund. They can't have their own fund, but you have wealthy boosters that back the program, people who want to see their alma mater succeed, and if that happens, then there's no doubt in my mind that they'll have another avenue to get players to their schools. If you have a company as a front, like what you've seen happen in Georgia, what you have seen happen in Texas. So it sullies the game only to the fact of maybe those kids aren't playing in the same hometown that they grew up in.
Gotcha.
But you have transient families in real life, and you have people who move for a job. So I think the AHSAA is kind of has their hands tied behind their back.
Makes
because
sense.
you already have that now. You're not going to tell a kid that he can't play high school football in another city for something that's completely out of his control. In college sports and in pro sports, you have contracts and you have the ability to freely move because you're an adult. At the high school level, these kids are still minors and they need to be treated as such. That's another thing. They're minors, Aspen. That kind of hit me. You want to talk about a eureka moment? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. Those are kids.
And that's another aspect that I think many people have talked about before is these are, like, does a kid need all that money?
Well, I don't know how. Do you know how it works specifically? Like, when they write you that $1 million check, is it going?
I can't say. I haven't got a $1 million check yet, so I can't say
I
that.
don't know how that works. And, I mean, you look at college kids, and, I mean, most of the time we're blowing them on Lambos and a good time. But I don't know, like, then parents come in. I mean, are the parents going to take advantage of that money? I don't know. It's so sticky. I don't know how you guys are even navigating through it. And you're on the front lines, though. Like, what do you think on the better side? You've been in those lower classification schools. Mm-hmm. Do you think that NIL could also be life-changing in the best way possible?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You yourself is your greatest tool to lift yourself out of poverty. The actions that you make are what decides where you're going to go with your life. And if you're blessed with this great talent of playing football, then you should be able to capitalize that at any point in your life. You shouldn't have to wait till you're a professional because that day may never come. You shouldn't have to wait, and this is my personal opinion, I don't think you should wait till college because that day may never come. You have injuries, one injury.
It's so sad.
It's over.
Yep.
It's over.
Yep.
And then you have to go find something else to do with your life. It's quite literally it. And it's crazy to think about it that way, but it's the truth. So I think we should have NIL. I really do. And we have to be realistic about who's actually getting this money. I think I saw something in Georgia where it's like 0.002% of high school athletes are actually getting any sort of NIL. And that's like the cream of the crop. That's your top 40, 50 players, if
Gotcha.
even that, which are getting this money, but that money should still be flowing, in my opinion. Where the question lies is, does it affect the schools? Does it affect the players? Is it solely the validity of the game? Whatever it may be. And that's what we just kind of keep falling back on.
So is it still this gray area? Like, we're just trying to figure it out? You
absolutely.
think everybody's just trying to figure it out?
I think at the college level, they've got a good idea, but the rules are changing every day. A good friend of mine, Logan White, works in the Mississippi State Athletic Director's office, and I recently got a chance to catch up with him, and he told me, he goes, Vlad, every day, so, you know, it's something new's happening. Somebody else is finding a new way to innovate NIL, and then it comes to high school. What the hell is that going to look like?
What's going on?
What's that going to look like? We don't know what that's going to look like. So, if it gets legalized, you have to just take a chance and just say, okay, we're going to do it. Let's see what happens. Mm-hmm. These players should be allowed to make this money for their families. They're not child laborers, but they should be able to make this money for their families. And we'll just see what happens. Like, it's already happening in Georgia. They legalized it a few years ago. I'd have to look at. Yeah.
Wow.
I'd have to
Alabama
look
is kind of behind that.
I
didn't even realize.
Always.
You don't think so much. Everybody's so focused down in the South on college.
Yes.
Like, where are we getting these players from? But it's high school.
Yes.
I bet, can you think, like I've said, you are on the front lines of high school football. Is there any stories from athletes that stand out to you?
I don't know if I have a story per se. I do have stories of seasons. I do have stories of games. I look back at Parker High School and what they were able to do last year, right over in Smithfield, down there in Birmingham, and they had an almost undefeated season. One loss on the year to Carrollton, Georgia, which is a really good 6A program in Georgia. And Parker, man, they just, the whole community rallied around that team.
Really?
Year. Yeah, it was awesome. And they had a chance to play in the state title here in Protective. So everybody in Smithfield just came on over and they packed out the visiting side. And that was really cool to see.
Do you think they have the best atmosphere in Alabama high school football?
Parker?
Uh-huh.
That's tough. All right, I got to tell you about Good Hope. Oh my goodness. Okay, so
we're from Central Alabama, so I don't know what's going on. Like,
and I'm lucky enough to be able to now get out. Like, I've been to Huntsville this year. I've been to Mobile. Been to Phoenix City. I've been to some of these hot spots for high school football.
Thompson's up there.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it's Thompson University.
But here's the thing about Thompson University. They're good, and people know they're good. So they come for 3 quarters, and then they go and do something else, and it's 50-0 in the 4th quarter, and then everybody's off to Whataburger. You know, it's sort of that kind of thing. When you have a good game at Thompson, that atmosphere is second to none. I went to the Madison Bowl, which is up there in Huntsville, but Bob Jones and James Clemens, they share that stadium.
That's middle of nowhere, right?
That's in Huntsville.
Oh, you just said Huntsville. I was like, okay, because sometimes those middle of nowheres, they'll get you out of the
absolutely. And I'll be headed up to one after this. But the Madison Bowl, that atmosphere was awesome.
Why?
They share that stadium together. Both high schools use that stadium, yes. It's Madison County Stadium. So they're both Madison County schools, or Madison Cities, they're Madison schools, and they share the stadium, and on one end is the Bob Jones student section, and the other end is the James Clemens student section, and they are like this.
How weird would that be if, like, your home high school team shared with a rival? What do you think is, like, the main difference that you see, other than just I'm not talking facilities, but culture between, you've got your big 7A schools who have millions of dollars poured into the program versus these small town who this is the highlight of their week. Like, what are those?
Everybody knows each other. Everybody knows each other.
Really?
When you go to a one area 2A program, you're lucky if you have 50 kids, 60 kids on that team. So you've got a community, and everybody goes to the same Shell to get gas because there's only one Shell in the city, and that sort of stuff. I don't want to sell them short like they're lesser, but it's just the matter of the fact, And when you get to Thompson and stuff, I certainly didn't know everybody's name by heart at my high school. You know what I mean? It's thousands of people going to Thompson. Pelham for you as well. You're selling it short. It's still a 6A. You know what I mean?
Yeah, small 6A.
It's a 6A.
I get what you mean.
It's a growing one, yeah. And that's the biggest thing, I think, just the community aspect of it.
So you may be listening to me and asking yourself, Aspen, why hybrid? Why for you? Are you really taking this? And the answer is yes. The thing for me is that not only is it clean, it's just an easy switch. I know exactly what I'm putting into my body for absolutely no hassle. No more gas station runs and midday crashes. No matter what I'm doing, I just feel better. So whether I'm teeing it up on the first tee, about to crush a gym session, or dialing in for work, HYBRYD is not only effective for the long run, it's effective for now when the energy and focus when I need it, and on top of that, it tastes amazing.
I also think too, like flipping on the other side is looking at people our age, you know, the younger generation coming up into the workforce. Sure. You have built BamaPreps from the ground up, all for love of the sport.
Yep.
But what, I guess from what you've learned, is that advice that you have to people who maybe haven't found their niche yet? Sure. Or what would you just say to our fellow peers about
it's tough.
Building?
It's
tough.
Yeah. For me, I was lucky enough to have a wealth of knowledge of football growing up and always being involved with football. There's a reason that I don't cover basketball or baseball or volleyball as in depth as I do football. It's because I don't know it, and I'm not going to put my name on something that I don't know. You know, we did a little state title stuff with basketball, but as far as finding your niche goes, I think if you could make doing what you love your career, you know, the whole you'll never work another day, you know, however that goes, like it's true. It really is true. And I'm going to college right now. I do work another job, but I'm really trying to make this something. And if it's not BamaPreps, it'll be an iteration of BamaPreps. Set your foundation for what you want to do and just build upon that. You know, you don't want to have a bad foundation. Everything's going to crumble on top of it. When it comes to media, which you're in, which I'm in, you know, it's all about just establishing your reputation. Make sure people know they can trust you when they tell you something. Make sure you follow through. Make sure you deliver. It's that kind of stuff. You know, it's really the little things. I can't speak generally on broad ideas because I don't know what other people are really into. But I know for me personally, everything has just been built on a foundation of trust, of hard work, and of making things look good, which is, you know, what I've tried to do with my brand. We've been big on brand identity. You look at the shirts we have the
very
logo on
oriented.
Everything. Right, it has to be.
And it looks professional. Like
That's the goal. Yeah.
It is professional. It's not that it looks professional. You have made it professional. Did it start that way, or was like this happening with the photo on the iPhone and we've progressed? So
I'm obsessed with college and professional teams' brand identities.
Okay.
There you have the logo that the multi-million-dollar design firm made. You have the football team, which is multi-million dollars, that Nike designed their uniforms. And then you have the social media branding team, which are usually a few leads and then a bunch of interns. And they come together and they have to make every single score graphic, every single award winner graphic, telling you to wear this shirt when you come to the game. All of that stuff that you see on your social media feed is all following a very strict brand identity. And the colors have to be right, the uniforms have to be right, the fonts have to be right, your word marks, everything, because you have copyright law, you have restrictions on which fonts you can use, you want to use university-oriented fonts, and all that stuff really fascinated me. It was, you know, like how do they take this unique organism, which is a university's athletic program, and that's the identity that they choose to push with it. With the Indianapolis Colts, they use the blue bricks. You look at Lucas Oil Stadium, you got the bricks, that's what their stadium is. And they use the blue bricks behind it, and they'll use the white bricks, and just stuff like that. It's a very small example, but that's the detail that goes into it. And then I'm sitting here, you know, just being a terrible graphic designer for Warrior Nation football, and I had to sit down and learn and figure out how to do it, and, you know, we're getting somewhere now. You know, and it's when you look at a post, when you look at a piece of media, you want people to automatically know who made it. And you want people to identify that with quality content. You want people to identify that with BamaPreps or whatever your brand is. And that's been the biggest thing for me, just making sure that everything looks good and be very detail-oriented about it. And then you have the whole other part about, you know, building connections and making sure people trust you, just being someone good to be around, man. I'll see some people, you know, God bless them, they'll be out there just covering a football game, and it seems like they'd rather be anywhere else. You know, you have to love what you do. If you're going to sit there and work, you know, a job you don't want to do for the rest of your life, maybe just because it pays a little bit better, just take a chance. And especially if you're a younger person, like right now is the time to fall flat on your face. You know what I mean? Like if there was ever a time to do it, you will never have less to lose than you do right now.
So then, I mean, that makes me think too, like, has there ever been a time, like I just keep saying, like, you have built this from the ground up.
Yeah.
And yes, sports is so glamorous. Yes, all the nice things are awesome.
Sure.
The privileges are amazing, but has there ever been a time where you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. This is just hard. And how did you deal with that?
So, you know, I think we all go through that honestly at every point of building something. For me, the first part was like, how am I going to get into these games? How am I going to take photos? That was another big thing. Like, photography was such a big jump for me now, and anytime you see photos posted by us, it was taken by me.
So how did you even get into that?
So
you didn't know anything about it before?
No, Jesus.
So how did you even get in?
You watch a lot of YouTube videos, and you start with a crappy
YouTube
camera.
University,
Yes,
I like it. Somebody said that to me the other day. I was like, that's so
YouTube
clever.
University.
I'm like, yeah.
It's real. It's real. It's real. You know, I started with a crappy little Nikon D5300. It was red, like surprisingly red. Like, I never thought I'd see a red camera before. And I got the crappy little kit lens with it. I'm saying crappy, it's a fine camera, but got the little kit lens with it and went out to, I think the first game I shot was Leeds versus Helena. It was a spring game.
Okay.
And it was back in 2023.
Would you have to get a press credential for it?
No, I just kind of.
You just showed up.
Kind of walked on.
Just showed up. Yeah.
Just kind of walked on, and we'll get to the press credentials, but yeah, but just went out there, started shooting photos. No idea what I'm doing at all. Maybe practiced outside my house for a few minutes before, and just went and shot. And the learning curve is pretty steep. You have to really factor in, you know, how much grain you want in that photo. How can I make it look the sharpest at the shutter speed I want? You know, with the right color tones, and color toning is something that I'm still working on, especially on the editing front. And, you know, I can get into detail with it, but that was a big hurdle for me. And the second big hurdle was just how can I get into these events? And that's where your media credentialing comes in. You know, the AHSAA is very stringent, as they should be, about who they allow to be media credentialed. You know, you don't want any bad actors on the sidelines. You don't want anybody affecting the games. So, you know, getting in with people, and I was lucky enough with HYBRYD, a good friend of mine, D-Mark Mitchell.
Cool.
So we'll go and do radio. I'll go and do radio appearances every Tuesday in the morning, and with that, I get the privilege of having media credentials. So, and I'm able to go out to these events and do this on the side while I'm also covering for iHeartRadio. So, just finding a way in. You know, the path won't be linear. I guarantee it. It will not be linear. Does
it ever feel like the world's against you? You're like, this is just tough.
Only when we do our pick'ems, and the other high school hates our guts for a week. Only when we do our pick'ems.
Nice. Hey, well, that's a good thing, though.
No,
You're on
absolutely.
the up. It seems like everybody's pretty much on y'all's side.
We try.
I love it, though. But
Yeah.
So just like overall, what would be your biggest piece of advice to somebody who's building?
Ooh, that's loaded. Biggest piece of advice, I definitely say you just have to keep consistency with it. The biggest thing I've seen for on the social media side is, you know, people will start something and it's really cool. They have a really good idea and they start doing it, whether it's another brand similar to what I'm doing or photography, and they go, why am I not getting the following I want? Why is nobody interacting with my content? You're not consistent with it. People need to start associating you with what your product is. And you know, we've done that with BamaPreps in high school football. If you've got a photography account, slap the watermark on it. Let them know this is the photos I take, and if they're good photos, people are going to watch. But you also have to keep doing it over a long enough period of time to start eventually amassing a following. I think I was stuck at 300 to 400 followers for maybe half a year, you know, before I really started picking up in steam.
And now you're at where?
We'll be at 31,000.
That's what I thought. I wanted to throw that number out there, but I was like, let me make sure I'm right.
By the end of tonight. And
that's crazy.
It's growing.
Do you ever look at it? You're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I got on BamaPreps the other day. I was like, oh, I just want to see, and I'm like, okay, well, 100 of my mutuals follow BamaPreps. Yeah. I'm friends with the owner, with the founder. I'm like, that's a good perk. Sick.
Yeah, and it's. The way I see it is probably a little nihilistic. Like I'm on the glass half empty side to where I could always be more.
Which I'm starting to pick up, though. Like,
You
people
kind of
in
have
this
to be that
industry
way.
are.
You kind of have to be that way if you really want your product to succeed. Like, I can be happy about where I'm at right now. You know, we just reached 10 million monthly views. We just reached 250,000 monthly interactions. But at the end of the day, they're just numbers. And when your promotion is focused on the players, the schools, and the teams, those numbers don't mean as much. You have to just pour your heart into the content. A few years ago, we went out to Central Tuscaloosa High School, Tuscaloosa County High School, and Hoover. We did some mic'd up stuff for them, and just going out to these different schools and meeting the coaches, meeting the players, learning who really needs to start getting pushed recruiting-wise, and that's been a big emphasis of ours. I don't claim to be a scout. I am not a scout. I don't know the first thing about scouting, but what I do know is that when a coach says, hey, I need help putting out this player, there's nothing a stat graphic can't fix, or just a player graphic, or just a highlight video, because building the platform that we have now, it's a very unique tool for players and coaches to come to me and say, hey, I've got a guy, you know, who I really like, and I'll go watch him, and I think he's good enough. Like I said, not a scout, but, you know, with my non-football eyes, or whatever you want to say, I think it's a great opportunity what we have to really start pushing the athletes. And then you have the school side of it, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I was also thinking, too, like, people, you know, they graduate from high school and then they become so out of touch what's going on in this realm. And it's like a gold mine.
Yes.
What is going on right now? Obviously, we had touched on NIL, but that either you find really interesting or you think other people should know?
Yeah, it's interesting. You said if something interesting, people want to know, man, like they're like, yeah, like you said, they leave and then they don't hear anything about it. Like this is your community, this is where you were brought up in, man. Just support these players, support these athletes. It means so much, you know, when you get to some of these schools and there's just nobody there. Like, come to the games. It doesn't need to just be the parents. Come support your local community. You know, you see that in college athletics. You know, how many dads do you know still dish out hundreds of dollars to go to these games at Thompson? You especially, you're at Alabama. You know, it's that aspect of it. You know, like, yes, those high schools still exist just because you graduated. You know, you can go away from it for a year, but just come back and support. You know, for the players and everything like that. I'd say that's the biggest thing.
The culture of football, I feel like, is just unbeatable. Like, what do you feel like stands out about football versus, I mean, you said yourself, like, you're not covering other sports, maybe necessarily because you're not as knowledgeable, but what draws you to football overall?
Football is one of the greatest life lesson generators I think I've ever.
Think so?
Yeah.
Over golf?
Over
I'm
golf.
going to fight you on this one
Over
because
golf.
I think golf is the character builder of all characters.
I think I played golf maybe 5 times.
Exactly. I think it
and
whooped your tail.
It was miserable.
Yep. Just stick with it.
It was miserable. I couldn't do it.
So why football?
Like I said, I think you learn so many life lessons. You learn the teamwork aspect of it. You learn the discipline aspect of it, the leadership. There's so many things that'll set you up well in life that you learn from football. And I'm not saying other sports don't do this, because they very well do, golf included. The calm your temper part with golf, I think, will do it.
Okay. Well.
But yeah, you learn so many of these valuable lessons in football, and the relationships that you build, you carry on for a lifetime. You really do. These are your teammates. These are your band of brothers, if you will. And you know, I still talk with most of the people from the offensive line room that I was a part of my senior year playing H-back. I still talk with a few people that graduated before me on the football team.
It's a brotherhood.
Absolutely.
I mean, through and through, it's different.
Absolutely it is. And that part of it you'll have for life. And giving these athletes a chance at the best possible experiences. And I was maybe up in my, you know, castle up in the sky with Thompson, you know, going there. We didn't lose a state championship game. You know, we didn't lose a playoff game while I was in high school. And
which is
literally nobody else is afforded that privilege.
It's crazy in the best way possible.
Absolutely. And I come to other schools and I see the playoff defeat, and I've always been the guy on the other side of that. And that's a real aspect of the game. You know, if you're a senior and you lose, you don't make the playoffs, losing the first round of the playoffs, losing a state title. I know that was tough for the senior class after me at Thompson. They lost in the state title at Phoenix City that year. And you know, that's a big part of it. That's a lesson learned right there. Losing a game like that, you kidding me?
That is character building.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'll never understand, because you just don't have, I don't it's different in women's sports.
Yeah,
too.
like don't sell yourself short on that. You know,
Yeah.
women's basketball, women's volleyball, they're there. It exists,
Yep.
and it deserves to be covered. I went to an Albertville versus a Vestavia women's game last year, and Natasha Smallwood, who's the head coach for Albertville, the impact that she has on those girls and that team, man, they were ready to make a
amazing.
run, and the students popped out for that. I mean, they were there, supportive. You know, it doesn't need to be looked at as any different. And there's still a lot of lessons to be learned with that. I wish I could do a better job covering that, but unfortunately, I'm one person.
Yeah.
So, and it's not my area of expertise, but there's a lot of great people in the state that do good work.
Which is awesome.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sports is it's so much more than just playing a game. And I think you guys capture that.
Before we hop off this episode, Chris and I want to share why we're doing this. So on top of all of the benefits for your body when you take HYBRYD, you're helping those in crisis. Every $10 trial kit sends $5 directly to Fighterable Foundation, a suicide prevention platform. So not only for a week you get better energy, but we will fund the fight for mental health. We've already raised our first $50, and I really believe that we can double it this week. So you can get that link in all of our bios, or you can go to befuel.org/bench. It's only $10. You can help yourself and those in need.
Working at a golf course, whichever camera's looking at me, that is the epitome of a high school job.
It is.
It's-
And we take it seriously.
It's fun.
But you look around and you're like, this golf course that people are paying good money for,
Yes.
we have the best superintendent in the state.
Absolutely.
But it's like, it's run on 16-year-olds.
Yes.
Who's cleaning your range
Yeah.
balls? A quick thank you to Falcon Graphics for making our dreams a reality, my family at Fighterable Foundation, and Sky High Studios for making this all possible. I'm Aspen Rain, so don't be shy. Come take a seat on the bench.